Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. As always, I am your host, Mel Matt, and tonight we have a very special guest. It's a returning guest. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Face Boss.
Hey everyone, how are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing pretty good, yeah.
I mean, you got the man as your new profile picture. I mean, you have to be doing great.
I'm doing awesome. I looked up this picture and it's the first picture I saw, and I'm like, yes, I'm using her as my new picture for this.
But yeah, tonight's episode, it's actually going to be a pretty interesting episode. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at Judgment Day 2004.
Yeah, I've never seen the show before, and if I have, it's just been so long ago. So to look at this was really interesting.
Yeah, I think it represents a changing of the guard for SmackDown, I would say. Because they're doing a lot of new things here on this show.
Yeah, it definitely feels new compared to the other shows we have reviewed together.
Yeah, because the last time that you were on an episode, it was Survivor Series 2003, I believe. So we're going into 2004 now. This is May 2004. Last time was November 2003. How do you think the product sort of changed as they went into the new year?
Well, we've got I think the tag team division is looking a lot better, and they're starting to put more of a focus on that. And then you've got Eddie there, and then you've got John Cena with the United States title. So it seems like they're building up their title division a lot more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, especially with the United States Championship. John Cena is really going to be like the major star of that title division, and with the WWE title, Eddie and Bradshaw are going to have some battles, and they're really going to be building up Bradshaw as like the top heel on SmackDown.
Yeah, because I haven't seen much of JBL, of course, on the other shows we reviewed. So this is like my first time seeing him on his peak of being that big heel.
Consider yourself lucky that you haven't seen much of him.
Is it that bad?
I'll be honest, I hate Bradshaw. I hate him so much. Tonight he did fine, but as far as like an actual character went, like what, like when he was in the APA, I thought he was fine, but when he became JBL and started doing this character, I hated him, and it wasn't even watching this growing up. It wasn't like okay, you're a heel, so I boo you. It was like I don't want to see this guy wrestle anymore.
Understandable.
But yeah, Judgment Day 2004. We don't have an official theme for the show. It's just like some generic rock. But the stage design. What you think about the stage design?
I love the stage design. I thought it fit perfectly for what they were going for.
Yeah, I love this stage design with all the crosses and the Judgment Day fire sort of sign, the circle that I guess is supposed to look like a moon, I guess. It just looks like a graveyard sort of set, and it fits perfectly for Judgment Day. I think out of all the stage designs that we've seen so far on the podcast, this might be my favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty good because sometimes, like today, you see them going over the top on stage designs, but this they've made it really simple and effective.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like it really does. It does feel like they put effort into this stage design, and it really pays off.
Yeah, it looks really, really good.
So we get the first match on the show. It's Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio versus the Dudley Boys. Both the Dudley Boys and RVD got traded to SmackDown during the draft lottery. So pretty much everybody except for Rey Mysterio is a newcomer to SmackDown. So it'll be interesting to see how RVD and the Dudley Boys all from ECW. Even Rey Mysterio is from ECW. So it's a very ECW kind of match, I would say.
Yeah, it's right because you got the Dudley Boys and then RVD and Ray, and I thought Ray and RVD are a perfect tag team together because they're so athletic that they fit perfectly.
Yeah, and that's one thing about this match. Like, I forgot that RVD and Mysterio were a tag team around this time. And at first I was like, okay, this is a random tag team. But when I saw the match, they do work well together.
Yeah, they really are in sync with each other, and they both have those high flying offenses together. So I think they're a good match.
Yeah, and Bubba Ray Dudley, the Dudley Boys are new heels now, and they cement this heel, telling Taz, I don't like you anymore.
Oh yes, I remember going, "What's he doing?" Talking to the commentary team like that.
Yeah, I mean, the Dudley Boys and Taz go all the way back to ECW, so
I could have just imagined like that was not planned, and Taz had like no idea, and then he just comes up talking to him like that, and Taz is like, "Okay, I'll go with it."
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was sort of unscripted, like Bubba Ray Dudley just kind of calls an audible.
Yeah, the Dudley Boys as a heel team work really well because they're so aggressive and they know how to work the crowd to get them to boo them. So I think they work really good here.
Yeah, they really do, and I've always liked the Dudley Boys better as heels. Not that they were terrible faces, but the Dudley Boys, both guys, Bubba Ray specifically, but both guys, they really do feel like they love working heel.
Yeah, they look really comfortable doing this sort of attack and then using, the hometown crowd of Ray to get, that heat. So they look really comfortable doing this in the match instead of maybe being the faces.
This does take place in Los Angeles, California, in the Staples Center, which is where WrestleMania will be the next year after this, WrestleMania 21. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
and, and I've always liked Los Angeles as a wrestling town. I feel that whenever WWE goes to Los Angeles or just California in general, they really the crowd is always so very hot for WWE. I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say this was a good crowd for the show. They were really into the matches, so they're a good, sort of crowd to do WrestleMania for.
So the Dudley Boys, they sort of can't really get out of the starting block. Rey Mysterio and RVD just constantly go after them. The Dudley Boys do get some offense in here and there, but we do get some good double team work by RVD and Rey Mysterio. Like Rey Mysterio just jumps onto RVD and Hurricane is one of the Dudley Boys, which I really liked.
Yeah, that was a really good move in the match. I like that part.
And we also get a double 619 on the Dudley Boys.
Yes, I love Ray 619, so I was happy.
So we get a 5-star frog splash to, I believe, Devon, and RVD and Rey Mysterio get the win.
Yeah, I liked Ray's crossbody and RVD's big splash off the top rope. And I also like how the Dudley boys did work well together as in trying to isolate Ray from RVD. I think that was really good. And I liked how they ended this match with the finish. And I hope to see another match from these guys because they work so well together.
Yeah, I hope that we do too. The next time that we do see the Dudley Boys on pay per view, it'll be an interesting match to say the least.
I see.
They end up facing the Undertaker in a concrete crypt handicap match, where Paul Bearer is near the stage and he is in a glass case filled with concrete.
Oh yes, I remember that match. Oh, that was an interesting match. I'm like, are they trying to
that,
murder Paul here?
yeah, it was so weird. I'll talk about more about that in a couple of weeks, but yeah, it was an interesting match. Like Paul Bearer had to be ridden out because of a health problem, so that was the way they wrote him out.
Ah, I see. That's interesting.
But yeah, and RVD and Rey Mysterio, they sort of take a pause from tagging together after this. RVD goes into the United States title scene, and then by the end of the year, they actually do team up again. And Rey Mysterio and RVD actually do win the tag team titles by the end of the year.
Oh, nice, because I thought that I could do really good being in that tag title scene, so that's good to know.
Yeah, so overall, I thought this was a really good opening match. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I thought it was a good opener to get the crowd going, and it's just a really good tag team match to start the show. So yeah, it was really good.
So then we get Kurt Angle being rolled out by Luther Reigns, and he comes up like up this like platform. It's like an elevator, like, and Kurt Angle is in a wheelchair.
Yeah, so what happened to him again to get him in that wheelchair?
Yeah. Like, this is a really interesting point in Kurt Angle's career because Kurt Angle is taking a bit of a hiatus from wrestling for the time being because he had some lingering neck issues after WrestleMania. So he's now the SmackDown GM for a time. And how he got into the wheelchair is like I believe a few weeks after he became GM, Big Show sort of was constantly going after Tori Wilson. Um, and at the end of the day, Big Show ends up chokeslamming Kurt Angle off a balcony in the parking lot. And so Kurt Angle is now dealing with a broken leg.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's insane. And that's the reason why Big Show sort of takes a bit of a hiatus for a few months because in storyline, Big Show is temporarily suspended, I believe, by Kurt Angle because of that.
Oh wow. But do they end up having a match together when like Big Show comes back in that?
Yeah, later on, like Big Show and Kurt Angle actually do have a match at No Mercy later on in the year, and that's when Kurt Angle ends up shaving Big Show's head.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, 2004 was a wild time in the SmackDown universe.
Yeah, that was must be pretty interesting to see that.
So yeah, Kurt Angle comes out, calls out Tori Wilson, and says that because of her part in him ending up in the wheelchair, if she doesn't win this next match, she will be fired. And guess what this match is? Tori Wilson versus Dawn Marie, part two, or part three, technically.
I love how this was just like, oh, the very important like match, like a fired match, and then it's like Tori Wilson's your opponent. Like Dawn and Tori, we've seen that, so like, we'll see no one else in the back that could have hit that with her.
Yeah, because I think Nydia was on Raw at this time. Sable was sort of on her way out, sort of. Like, she does end up facing Tori at Great American Bash, but she was on her way out of the company at this point in time. So I think the only person left, the only woman left, Jackin was Cruiserweight champion. So I think the only woman aside from Sable was Dawn Marie at the time.
Ah, I see. So maybe they just had to go with that.
So I mean, there's not much to really say about the match. Like, there's a bit of a lockup for the first couple of minutes. Dawn Marie gets some offense in on Tori. Pulls her out of the ring, and I believe Tori ends up doing like some kind of backslide or some kind of pin combination for the win.
Yeah, like maybe like the only known as a maybe a good move I saw in this match was probably like the leg drop to the chest on the outside by Dawn Tori. But yeah, it was a really quick match. Not much to really say on it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad match by any means. Um, I don't know if I would say it was better or worse than Royal Rumble, but I would say it's on par. At least here there was no Al Wilson involved, so I'll take this over Royal Rumble 2003 any day of the week.
That's true, and at least there was like some stakes involved with Tori possibly getting fired, so there was at least some maybe investment in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was an okay match.
So yeah, next up, this is an interesting match. Mordecai versus Scotty 2 Hottie. Mordecai making his debut here in WWE and Face Boss. What do you know about Mordecai?
I know nothing. So what I saw of him making his entrance in this match, this was my first impression of him. And my first thoughts I took down here was his entrance reminds me of Undertaker and a bit of Star Wars.
Star Wars. You know what? Yeah, it actually does remind me of Star Wars a little bit with the robe and all.
It was very strange, but I liked the music because it just fitted him so perfectly. But it was very strange.
Yeah, are you familiar with Kevin Thorne from WWE's version of ECW?
No.
They're the same guy. Kevin Thorne is Mordecai.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, this was like his first run as Mordecai. Mordecai was like this religious zealot who promised to cleanse the world of the sins. It was that kind of a character.
Yeah, it was like pay for your sins and stuff like that, which I thought could be a very good character if if you wanted to take the route of him maybe going face and then going against those heels like the injustice and stuff. But it was interesting.
Yeah, and there's been a long-standing rumor, and I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, but I've always heard the rumor that Mordecai was supposed to feud with the Undertaker after a while.
Yes, I was wondering that. I was about to ask you if he's ever feuded with the Undertaker.
Yeah, I think he was on his way to doing it, and they ended up taking Mordecai off of TV after a couple of months. They sent him back to developmental to sort of further hone his skills, and he also got in a bar fight as well. So they sort of take him off TV after only a few appearances. So Mordecai isn't he doesn't last too long in WWE. He later does come back as Kevin Thorne in WWE's version of ECW a couple years after this. So
Oh, so his character just wasn't working?
it might be. I think it was a combination of that. Maybe they didn't really like what he was doing in the ring, and he also got in a bar fight, so it was sort of like negative publicity. So I think it was just sort of a combination of all of that.
I see, because I thought he did well in this match against Scotty.
Same here. I actually really enjoyed this match. Like, it's a simple squash match, but I think it works really well. I love Mordecai's look here with the long, like, blonde slash white hair, like the white beard, just the white. I just think it's a really cool look. It's a really cool character, I think, as well.
I agree, and I like his finishing move. It's like the razor's edge, they called it in the match, where he lifts Scotty up by his back and then slams him down to the mat. I liked that move.
Yeah, same here. I think he did it very well.
Yeah, and Scotty sold for him really well as well in this match, and like the fear of who he was standing across in the ring. Like I thought Scotty added to this match too.
Yeah, I think he did well for his role. Like, I almost kind of felt bad for him because he was like tag team champion just a couple months before this.
Oh, and now he's doing this.
Yeah. Like, poor Sky Too Hottie.
His music though, Scotty Too Hottie's music is very interesting. I've never heard it before.
Yeah, yeah, it's very energetic. It's very danceable.
It reminds me of like party music, like if you're going into like a club and hearing like generic party music, like that would be it.
Yeah, totally. I definitely get the same feeling as well. And I'm sure that especially at the height of the Attitude Era, which was I believe when this theme first came out, I have to imagine that was at a few parties.
Yeah, but the crowd liked him and stuff, so I think this match worked good for what it needed to do.
Yeah, like it's a squash match. It's there to sort of highlight Mordecai, and it does a great job of doing that. Mordecai is built up well. Sky Too Hottie made Mordecai look great. Um, I really don't have much of a problem with this match. It was just I thought it was a great match personally.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, and I liked the new guy and his entrance and what he wore. It was pretty good.
So we go to the next match. It's Charlie Haas and Rico versus Billy Gunn and Hardcore Holly for the WWE Tag Team Championships.
Now Rico is interesting because I've never seen Rico before as a character or as a wrestler, so this was my first impression of that.
Yeah, like it's a pretty interesting character. Rico started off as the stylist for Billy and Chuck, which I don't know if they ever bring up in this match because he's facing off against Billy Gunn. I don't know if they ever mentioned that.
No, I don't think they do. I think they just play it off as Charlie's like doesn't like what Rico's entrance and stuff is about, but he sort of like has to do it and be there.
Yeah, like both of these teams are actually kind of random in a way. Like Rico started doing this sort of flamboyant character. Halfway through 2003, he split from 3 Minute Warning and he started doing this flamboyant character on Raw, and it slowly started getting over. And then he got traded to Raw in the draft lottery, and he started teaming with Charlie Haas, who was without a partner now that Shelton Benjamin got traded to Raw. So both of them are teaming up against Billy Gunn and Hardcore Holly, who are the most random tag team ever. Like this is like WWE Universe on like WWE 2K18 or 2K19 kind of thing, you know?
Exactly. It kind of feels like they were like put together or they were standing like backstage one day and someone just said to them, well, you two are now a tag team.
Yeah, yeah, you two are doing nothing. All right, we'll put you as a tag team.
But I thought they worked well together though.
Yeah, like it actually does kind of make sense, a certain amount of sense. I thought because both of them are powerful guys. Both of them are I think I think in a certain amount of sense, I think it worked to a certain degree.
Yeah, I like how they played off each other and also like not wanting to get in the ring with Rico and trying to like push the other one in and just say, no, I'm not tagging you.
Yeah,
They were very entertaining.
yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid match for what it was.
Yeah, it was a really fun match for the crowd because I think you kind of need this sort of match when you've got matches like Booker T and Undertaker, and then you've got the big main event match. So to have something really fun and laid back compared to what the Dudley Boys and RVD and that did, I thought it was a good sort of pacing on the card.
Oh yeah, totally. I totally agree, and I love the finish of the match. Hardcore Holly goes for a Alabama Slam. Rico super kicks Hardcore Holly, and Haas turns it into like a roll up for the win. I thought that was a really cool finish to the match.
Yeah, I liked that. Yeah, they've they work really well together, and I think it's a really good finish for a tag team.
Yeah, like I thought it was a solid, entertaining match all around.
I agree.
So the next match is Chavo Guerrero versus Jacqueline for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. And this match started when Chavo Guerrero called out anybody in the back to challenge for the Cruiserweight title, and Jacqueline comes out and ends up beating Chavo, and she becomes the first ever female Cruiserweight champion.
I really like Jacqueline, and I'm glad that they sort of did this angle with one of the women, like to sort of stand out on the rest of the card. Because when you've got Dawn and Tori doing their thing, and to have someone as strong and athletic as Jacqueline with the cruiserweight title, which is normally like for men only, and to see her in this sort of role was really cool to see.
Yeah, it was awesome, and I love Jacqueline. Like I really love Jacqueline, and I think, and you and I were talking about this before we went on the air, and we were talking about how Jacqueline was sort of in the wrong era, so to speak. Mainly because I feel like if she was in WWE now, she would have a much better run of things.
Oh, I agree. If like we had her now on Raw or SmackDown, I think she would do amazing.
Yeah, and so Chavo has his hand tied behind his back as the stipulation for this match.
Yeah, I thought this match was okay. It was kind of quick, but I don't know. What did you think of it?
I thought this match was sort of disappointing in a way. Like it wasn't awful by any means. I do wish that they had had a bit of a. I wish the match was a bit longer. I do wish that they had Jacqueline getting a bit more offense in on Chavo, but overall, I thought it was an okay match.
Yeah, I agree. I maybe would have had this match go for a little longer and just to see more of Jacqueline being the, cruiserweight champion. But yeah, it was okay, I guess.
Yeah, so the finish of the match comes when Chavo Senior or Chavo Classic sort of unties Chavo's hand behind the referee, and so Chavo ends up hitting the gory special on Jacqueline and wins the cruiserweight title.
Yeah, so I thought we would have seen more of Jacqueline with the cruiserweight title for a lot longer, but instead of maybe just like giving it right back to Chavo.
Yeah, I wish that she had held it for a bit longer.
Yeah, I would have liked to see kind of a little bit what they did with China when she was like having different feuds with like Chris Jericho and different men on like the roster. They sort of could have done that with Jacqueline.
Yeah, totally. And I think Jacqueline would have worked really well in that role.
Yeah, I think she could have done with a bit more time as the champ, but at the same time, she can now say that she's being cruiserweight champion. So
Yep. And I mean, and Chavo himself doesn't actually hold the title for very long because he ends up losing it on the very next SmackDown. Who do you think beat Chavo for the title?
oh, he loses it that quickly. I don't know who was it.
Chavo Classic.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, it was a triple threat match with Chavo, Chavo Senior, and Spike Dudley. And from what I remember, I believe Chavo Classic ends up like sort of falling on Spike Dudley, and he gets the win, and he's the cruiserweight champion. And I believe he's the oldest cruiserweight champion in WWE history.
Oh wow. Oh, I see. Okay, it's interesting.
And he goes on to hold it for like a month. Like he has a
Oh,
shockingly
mum.
long reign at the time.
Yeah, that is pretty long for like a title like that. Oh.
Yeah, and he ends up losing it to Rey Mysterio about a month after that, and that's sort of his last appearance in WWE. He ended up getting fired because he no-showed some house shows. But Chavo Classic, I've always liked Chavo Classic as Chavo Guerrero's sort of manager. I think he did really well in that role, and you could tell that both guys were really having a lot of fun. Sort of as this father son kind of team.
Yeah, I agree. There's not many like managers these days that go in those mid card title scenes. So I think those two work well together with what they had.
Yep. So next up, this is an interesting match as well. John Cena versus Rene Dupree for the United States Championship.
Yeah, I've never heard of Rene Dupree. So what do you think of him?
He was in a tag team called La Resistance on Raw for most of 2003. He ends up getting drafted to SmackDown in the draft lottery. And Rene Dupree, I was never really a big fan of Rene Dupree. I feel like he wasn't the worst, but at the same time, he definitely needed more experience. He definitely needed more time and developmental to sort of hone his skills.
Yeah, I agree with that because some of the moves in the match, he just looked like he needed a little bit more practice on like the selling or maybe the timing of some of his moves.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
But I like this idea that this French man Rene is going to take away like the United States title and like the horror of it.
Yeah, and it's something that I had to know. Like even watching back then, I sort of had to know that he was going to be inserted into the United States style scene because his gimmick was very much that he was very pro France and stuff like that.
Yeah, to see even back then, like they were still doing those angles where, like in title scenes, they didn't want a non-American grabbing the title. It was pretty interesting to see because we still kind of have that with some of the title scenes now.
Yeah, Jinder Mahal like earlier this year with the United States title.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to hear like commentary, like Cole, like something is wrong if like he wins this tonight. It's like, what's wrong with that? But I like John
Yeah, so
Cena's.
overall,
I was about to say I like John Cena's old entrance that he does, the word life entrance.
yeah, same here. I much prefer it to the time is now, but that's just me. So John Cena does a bit of a rap beforehand, and he gets interrupted by Rene Dupree, and they end up having a match that's honestly better than I thought it was going to be. As soon as I saw John Cena and Rene Dupree, I'm like, oh my god, like really, really. But it was actually better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the moves, like maybe like going over the ropes by Renee onto the floor, or maybe like there was like this awkward jump or thing that he tried to do. But I liked the backbreaker that Dupree did to John, and I liked maybe like the nice DDT that he did to John Cena. I like those two moves, but I think these guys, if they were to work together again, they just need a little bit more practice with their timing.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. And I feel like Rene Dupree was sort of struggling as a solo act because he had spent most of his career as a tag team wrestler with Sylvain Grenier and then also with Rob Conway as Raw Resistance. So I feel like maybe Rene Dupree was still sort of kind of struggling to sort of try and become a solo act, so to speak.
Yeah, it must be hard to go from being in a tag team with someone and then being pushed like straight away into the United States title scene with someone like John Cena who's been working a long time so far. So that must be like quite hard to like pick up all these new things.
Yeah, but I think overall he does a decent enough job. He just needs a bit more experience. He just needs a bit more like seasoning, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. If he just has that bit more practice behind the scenes, I think he can still be like a solid like mid card person. So yeah, I think he can be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like his poodle that he would bring out, Fifi.
I haven't seen it. Oh, does he bring a dog out?
Not on this match. I think he does in the later pay-per-views. Like I know that he did it like I believe one of his first nights on SmackDown, like when he did that Cafe de Rene segment on SmackDown that they show in the video package. He does bring Fifi out on that one.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up because that's so cute.
Yeah. Fifi equals ratings.
Yes.
I did like the finish to this match with Rene Dupree sort of like jumping like off the turnbuckle and Cena catching him for the FU to win the match.
Yeah, I did think it picked up like 5 minutes towards the ending of the match. Like they seemed to get their rhythm together, but I did think that last match spot going into like the win was maybe a little bit. I don't know. I would have preferred something a little bit different.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. So John Cena retains the United States Championship, and overall it was a decent enough match.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty decent.
So next up, this is probably the match that I was looking forward to the most going into the show. It's The Undertaker versus Booker T.
Yes, I've never seen these two feud off together, so I was really excited to see like the story behind these guys and like why they're feuding. So I loved the video package leading into this match.
Yeah, like Booker T and Undertaker, they never really faced off all that much. Like I can only name one other time that they faced off before this, and that was No Mercy 2001. Other than these two times, I don't think they ever really faced off all that much. So it's a bit of a rare match, but I will say this: I love the storyline they did for this.
Yeah, because with Undertaker storylines with so many like different opponents, it's like what is the next big thing you can do to face the Undertaker where the audience sort of like believes or falls into like maybe Booker T can do this. So going down this line where he like goes to like the graveyard and he speaks with the spiritual lady to get this dirt from this grave to try to use, I think was a really good take on this.
Yeah, and I do like that they have Booker T actually like try to use like voodoo and sort of like tricks from beyond the grave, so to speak, like for his match against the Undertaker. Like it's a really cool way to sort of like try and get on Undertaker's level. It's a really cool thing because it's not something that a lot of wrestlers really do when they face the Undertaker. Like sometimes it happens, but not all the time. So I think it was a really cool thing for Booker T to do, and Booker T had just gone heel at the time, so it was a good way to sort of build him up as a heel going up against the Undertaker.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool in the video package showing him going after all these different guys, believing that he's the best, and then calling out a big name like The Undertaker. That was really cool.
Yeah, so this match, Booker T comes out and brings out a little pouch.
Yeah, here's this little pouch of graveyard dirt there.
And so Undertaker and Booker T sort of goes back and forth, and I love how Undertaker's smoke is still going on, like a couple minutes into the match.
I loved Undertaker's entrance though. I still believe he is one of like the best entrances in all of wrestling. It's just so good.
Totally, totally, and it is like the full package here with Undertaker, especially since he has not only the original Dead Man gimmick going on at this time, but he also has Paul Bearer at his side.
Yeah, I definitely thought that Paul Guerrero would somehow get involved in this match, but as a manager, he stayed pretty on the sidelines.
Yeah, it is a bit of an interesting pallbearer sort of at this time, and I feel like at this point in time, Undertaker didn't really need Paul Bearer anymore. Like as great as Paul Bearer was, I think Undertaker sort of reached the point in his career where he could sort of do things by himself at this point in time.
Yeah, I do like Paul because he just adds to that mystery and that mystique like, behind Undertaker, but at the same time, you're right. Undertaker could probably go solo and still be fine on his own.
Yeah, and Paul Bearer was a great manager, and he fit the Undertaker very well, even at this point in time.
Oh, he was a great manager.
Oh, I try to do a Paul Bearer voice. I can't do it.
He has a really unique voice, so I can't pull that off.
Yeah. So yeah, Paul, Undertaker and Booker T sort of go back and forth. We get a ref bump here, and Booker T sort of like throws the graveyard powder into Undertaker's face. No effect at all. Undertaker no selling Booker T.
Yeah, he no sold that dirt to the guy. It's like,
So Undertaker pretty much finishes the match with a choke slam and a tombstone and gets the win.
yeah, I liked Booker T selling here. Like he tried to dirt to the eyes of him so much, and he kind of like looks at Undertaker in the crowd, like, what else do I have to do here? So I liked what he did in this match for storytelling.
Yeah, I thought this was a really good match. I like the ring work. I like the storyline going into this. I like the story that they were telling with this match. You know, Booker T constantly going to the pouch and sort of like doing like a pray and stuff. I thought this match was a really good match. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the story that they told here with Undertaker and Booker T and how they sort of bring the supernatural type element to this match to kind of get in Undertaker's head. And yeah, I liked this match and I thought it was a really good place on the card as well. Good job.
Yeah, match. So next up, it is time for the main event. It is John Bradshaw Layfield versus Eddie Guerrero for the WWE Championship.
Now, the story leading into this was pretty interesting. What did you think of them bringing Eddie's family into this?
I think it worked. I think it worked. Like as someone who wasn't really crazy about a lot of JBO's work at this time, I feel like a lot of the time JBO was sort of just kind of going for like the cheap heat. But I think bringing Eddie's family into it and JBO giving Eddie's mom a storyline heart attack at a house show, I thought was a really interesting way to sort of make the feud personal.
I like how JBL was sort of like, well, if she dies, she dies. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, like JBO going all Ivan Drago all of a sudden.
Yes, it was like a good personal element and the story of JBL, this guy with like the suits and the money and the books, but he's not as successful as someone like Eddie, and that's what gets to him the most.
Yeah, yeah, like JBL's character transformation is definitely interesting. Like he goes from being part of the APA, being this beer drinking, Hellraiser, and now he becomes like this sort of Wall Street kind of guy, like this rich tycoon, which is, I believe, sort of based in reality a little bit because Bradshaw, like, in reality, is like a legit, like, very much a stock market analytical kind of guy. So it is based in reality a little bit.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, I think they're bringing a little bit of that reality through because I remember him saying somewhere in an interview that he does stock marketing, so it's not totally out of place for him to be that sort of character.
Yeah, and Bradshaw pretty much gets a main event push straight away. Like a lot of people have compared Bradshaw's push to Jinder's push when he won the WWE title, and I think I would say that's a pretty good comparison to have, maybe.
Yeah, I do feel like I haven't seen obviously a lot of JBL's matches, but compared to like the other shows we've reviewed before, it does seem like JBL sort of appeared kind of like out of nowhere.
Yeah, he was really just kind of doing nothing in the mid card, and all of a sudden he's in the main event now.
Yeah, I would say that.
And I mean, and at the time, I can kind of see why they would do that because they were sort of out of heels at the point in time. At that point in time, because Brock Lesnar had left the company at the time, Kurt Angle was hurt, so there wasn't really too many options left. And I think Triple H was supposed to be on SmackDown, but he ended up getting traded back to Raw, so there wasn't really too much in the way of heels on SmackDown in the main event.
That's true. And I think like this is a good person to go against Eddie. Like Eddie the underdog, like the crowd relates to him. He's this hardworking family man and compared to like JBL who wants to take this to a different level and he's the one with the money who's doing things to get to the top. I think that is a really good story to have in the main event.
Yeah, absolutely. So the match starts and Eddie Guerrero goes right after JBL.
I was going to say, do you want to mention JBL's promo in the ring before this
Oh
match
yeah.
started? How it
Oh
was,
yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, like he did cut a promo before this, which I was like, really another promo? Like he cut a promo like earlier on in the show. Do we really need another promo from him?
it's sort of like it wasn't really needed because like the heat was already there and he was just sort of adding like all this other heat to like the crowd already wanted to see Eddie kick your ass. So I don't understand this.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah,
man,
same here.
could you imagine saying any of these lines like today of what JBL was saying how he like climbed a bunch of fences to get here and how he wanted like Eddie's mum to be his housekeeper?
Yeah, like I don't think you could really say anything like that today, in wrestling. In wrestling anyway, not going to go into American politics, but yeah,
I mean, man, get that heat low.
yeah, like he's going to a lot of heat here, and Eddie actually gets a huge pop here.
I love Eddie's entrance. It's so good.
Same here.
He makes it because I mean we've seen like Alberto with the car, but I think Eddie just with that song and with the car and with the crowd, I think he just makes it work really good.
Yeah, he really does. Like Eddie really does have a lot of natural charisma, and it really comes out in his matches and his promos and stuff like that.
Yeah, as much as I liked Eddie as a heel when he was going against someone like Ray, but to see him also as the space, he's just really good at playing both roles so well.
Yeah, totally. And so the match goes on for a while. We get not one but two ref bumps, and JBL hits Eddie with a chair as the referee is incapacitated, and Eddie blades so deep, like blood is just pouring out of him.
He had that crack when the chair hit his head. Like, oh my god, that sound.
Yeah, like the chair shot to the head is bad enough, but Eddie just blading way too deep. Like I think it's just like it's just disturbing to see so much blood coming out of a person.
I agree. I mean, I like blood in matches because in some matches it adds to the intensity into the story, but seeing so much blood and how dark the blood was from his head made me honestly think like he's going to pass out in that ring.
Yeah, And I think blood does add to this match a little bit, but it was way too much.
Yeah, I'm amazed that he could still get up and do his moves and what he needed to do and everything with blood like in his eyes and everything.
Oh yeah, same here. I'm surprised that Eddie was still able to do everything that he was doing while covered in all that blood. Like it had to be adrenaline at that point in time.
Oh yeah, like oh gosh, yeah, there's just so much blood and it was like everywhere in the ring and so yeah, but the crowd got behind Eddie here though, so that really helped this match of course as well.
Yeah, so Eddie hits JBL with the W title and gets disqualified, but still keeps the title. Eddie hits JBL with a couple of chairs and a frog splash and attacks him in the aisleway. And this ends the show. And this feud is not over yet. Not over yet.
So do they have another big match coming up soon with these two?
Yeah, they had another match a month after this match at the Great American Bash in a Texas Bull Rope match.
Oh wow, and who wins that one?
JBL.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the reaction I had as well.
I was so disappointed hearing that, Matt. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, this match was really good. I liked the frog splash and JBL's clothesline from hell, and how the crowd got behind Eddie during this match. And I liked how this is like this didn't just stop the feud, like because Eddie used the title because JBL was going to use the title on him. And you could also say that Eddie snapped at the end because of what JBL has done to him and his family. Sort of adds that extra layer of storytelling. And then you still go off the air with the crowd happy that they've got that match, but also wanting to see this continue. So I thought it worked really well in both ways.
Yeah, it really did. Like, I actually really did like that match. Like, for as much as I complain about JBL earlier on in the show, like, I will give him credit where credit is due. He can put on good matches. This was a good match. It was a great match, in fact. The blood, as infamous as it was, as disturbing as it was, it did add to the match. There was some great storytelling in this match. But yeah, I really did like this match.
Yeah, the blood was a lot, and then both. I think men were bleeding, like JBL was even bleeding from the head, and I was concerned for like by the end of the match, seeing all that blood loss and everything. But I did
Mm.
think that this was a good match and a really good story, personally, to end the show for something like Judgment Day.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for Judgment Day 2004. Overall, what did you think about this show?
Overall, it was really good because I haven't seen the show before, so it was really good to see like RVD and Ray take on the Dudley boys. I thought it was a really good tag team match, and I liked Booker T and Undertaker because of that supernatural element, and of course, I liked JBL and Eddie because of their story, and I thought they worked really well together despite all that blood that I was concerned about. But yeah, I thought this was a really good show and it had different matches that had their own story and feel. And I thought it was a really good pacing. Maybe John Cena's and versus Rene Dupree, maybe that was maybe a letdown in the Dawn versus Tori match. But other than that, I had fun with the show.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought this was a good show. Same with Backlash 2004. Both of these were pretty good shows. I didn't think there was really a bad match on the card. Um, JBO Eddie was a great match. Booker and Undertaker was a great match as well. We also got some really fun tag team matches. Both tag matches on the card were really fun as well. Loved Mordecai's debut. So there was a lot to like on the show.
Yeah, there was all sorts of like different sort of stories and things happening on the show, like the debut, and you also having all these other big storylines, but I thought they all worked really well together.
Yeah, so overall, this was an enjoyable show. Like, if you have like 2.5 hours to sort of kill, it's not a bad way to spend 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's a good show. Give it a watch, and especially maybe if you can't like maybe watch all of it, I would recommend to you guys the Eddie versus JBL, Undertaker versus Booker T, and RVD and Ray versus the Dudley Boys.
Yeah, like there's a lot to like about this show. Like there were a bunch of great matches on this show.
Yeah, I liked it, and I liked how it didn't sort of feel like all these like Paul Heyman or general managers or anything, like with the backstage segments, like everything felt really good and still personal storylines between the wrestlers in the ring. So I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, it did remind me how weird 2004 SmackDown was.
Especially like that backstage promo, like video package with like Paul Heyman, like being like to the Dudley Boys, being all nice and then just yelling in their faces, just like, oh, you guys need to be more aggressive. I'm like, they're wrestlers, Paul. They're already aggressive. What are you trying to get at here?
Yeah. So I think that just about does it for this episode. Facebox, where can I find you at?
You can find me at Stacey Boss Life One on Twitter, where I review Raw and SmackDown episodes, and I say stuff like what I like or dislike, or I talk about things that are happening in the wrestling world. Or you can find me, the Boss Undertaker Bray, over at Cage Side Seats, where I hang out in the nightly.
And you can find me on Twitter at Melmat15. And I hang out on Cage Side Seats, hang on in the daily and the nightly, as well as some of the NXT threads and SmackDown threads as well. And there will be a brand new Ruthless Aggression era podcast next week, because next week we will be talking about Bad Blood 2004.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels in a Hell in a Cell match. So that'll be
Oh,
interesting.
I haven't seen that match before, so I might have to check it out.
Yeah, it was an okay match. It goes on forever. It's like 47 minutes.
That's Triple H's matches though. That they go the distance.
Yeah. So we're gonna be doing some quick plugs right here. Violent Wrestling Podcast with myself, Mox, and Ambrose Alley. Every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Right now, we are actually having an interview with a special independent wrestler coming up soon. We don't know when exactly it's going to be, but we are working on that, and we're going to try and do it soon. So that'll be an upcoming episode. And Shooting the Breeze with Tigger's Minion and Mr. Dr. Sinju every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. And I'm actually going to be on Shooting the Breeze tomorrow, as a matter of fact, because tomorrow Shooting the Breeze is going to be doing its breakfast episode for Survivor Series this year. So we'll be doing Survivor Series predictions and stuff like that. I'll be on that show. And tomorrow it starts at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. So definitely check that one out.
Nice.
And we also have Grounds for Development every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central with Biff Kensington and the Saskatchewan Spinning Nerve Hold, aka 5. Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, Connoisseurs of Wrestling every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central with Tigger's Minion, Legends Lover, Biff Kensington, and George Astaves. Two Guys, One Sport every Thursday night at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central with Chris Colgan and George Astaves. And I think that's just about it.
It's a lot of wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
work.
so yeah, like you will never be bored. Listen to wrestling podcasts. There's a bunch to listen to. Every one of them is gold wrestling podcast, gold. So definitely check all of that out. You will not be disappointed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that just about does it for this episode. Anything else you want to add, Face Boss, before we end the show?
No, just if you guys are watching Survivor Series, which is coming up, enjoy the show.
Yeah, definitely. Even if the man isn't on it.
Even if our man, the SmackDown Women's Champion, isn't on, which would have been the awesome biggest match on pay-per-view. However, there still could be a really fun show in there. So we're holding out hope.
Save us, Ruby Riot.
Save us! Anyone? Sasha, Ruby, Bailey, anyone out there?
Iconics, come on.
Yes, anyone. Do anything, please.
So that's it for this episode. Thank you very much to Face Boss for being on this episode.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. And that's all for this episode. And we will see you all next time. See ya.
Bye, guys.